Hello everyone, I'm Joey, and welcome back. If you've been looking for a job recently, or know someone who has, you've probably heard the same frustrating story. I've sent out hundreds of applications, but nobody is calling me back. At first, this doesn't seem to make sense. The U.S. unemployment rate is still relatively low. Many companies continue reporting solid profits. The economy hasn't officially entered a recession, so why are so many qualified people struggling to find work? Has the job market quietly changed? Is artificial intelligence replacing workers? Are companies becoming more selective? Or is something much bigger happening beneath the surface? Today, we're going to uncover what many economists are calling America's hidden jobs crisis. Unlike past recessions, this slowdown isn't obvious. There aren't massive waves of layoffs dominating the headlines. Instead, the hiring process itself has slowed dramatically. Millions of Americans are staying employed, but millions of job seekers are finding it harder than ever to get hired. Today, we'll explain why this is happening, what companies are really looking for, and what this could mean for the U.S. economy over the next year. Let's get started. The strange reality of today's job market. Normally, when the economy is strong, hiring increases. Businesses expand, new positions are created. Workers change jobs for better opportunities. Everything moves. But today's labor market looks very different. Companies are still employing millions of workers. However, many are hiring far fewer people than they did just a few years ago. Economists sometimes describe this as a low-fire, low-hire economy. In other words, businesses aren't laying off huge numbers of employees, but they also aren't bringing in many new ones. This creates an unusual situation. People who already have jobs often keep them, but those trying to enter the workforce or switch careers face much tougher competition. That's why so many applicants say they've submitted dozens, or even hundreds, of resumes without receiving a single interview. Why are companies hiring less? There isn't one simple answer. Several economic forces are working together. Let's examine the biggest ones. Reason number 1, high interest rates. One of the Federal Reserve's main tools for fighting inflation has been higher interest rates. Higher borrowing costs help slow inflation, but they also make expansion more expensive for businesses. Imagine you're the owner of a growing company. Last year, you planned to open 3 new offices, hire 50 employees, purchase new equipment. Now, the cost of financing those plans has increased significantly. Instead of expanding, you decide to wait. The result? Fewer job openings. Multiply that decision across thousands of companies, and hiring slows throughout the economy. Reason number 2, economic uncertainty. Businesses don't like uncertainty. When executives aren't sure what the economy will look like 6 months from now, they often become cautious. Instead of hiring aggressively, they postpone decisions. Questions about inflation, interest rates, global conflicts, trade policies, and consumer spending all influence hiring plans. Many companies would rather wait for clearer economic signals before adding permanent employees. That doesn't necessarily mean they expect a recession. It simply means they're trying to reduce risk. Reason number 3, artificial intelligence is changing. Hiring. Artificial intelligence has become one of the fastest-growing technologies in history. Companies are investing billions of dollars in automation, software, and AI-powered tools. Does that mean AI is replacing millions of workers overnight? No, but it is changing how companies hire. Some routine tasks that once required several employees can now be completed faster with AI-assisted software. Instead of hiring 3 people, a company may decide to hire one highly skilled employee who knows how to work with AI tools. In many industries, employers are placing greater value on digital skills, data analysis, automation, and problem solving. This doesn't mean jobs are disappearing. It means the skills employers are looking for are evolving rapidly. Workers who continue learning new technologies may find themselves in a stronger position than those who don't. Reason number 4. Companies learn to do more with less. During the pandemic, many businesses faced severe labor shortages. Managers were forced to find ways to improve efficiency. They invested in automation, improved software, better logistics, remote collaboration, and streamlined operations. Now, many of those improvements remain in place. As a result, some companies have discovered they can maintain productivity without hiring as many new employees as before. This doesn't necessarily reduce total employment, but it slows future hiring. The competition has never been greater. One surprising trend is the number of applications employers now receive for a single opening. With online job platforms making it easy to apply, some positions attract hundreds or even thousands of applicants within a few days. Human resources departments often rely on applicant tracking systems to filter resumes before a recruiter ever sees them. That means qualified candidates may never receive a response simply because their resume didn't match specific keywords. For job seekers, this can feel incredibly frustrating, especially when they know they're qualified. But from the employer's perspective, sorting through hundreds of applications has become a challenge of its own. Does this mean America is entering a recession? Not necessarily. A slower hiring market and a recession are not the same thing. In a typical recession, businesses begin laying off large numbers of employees. Consumer spending falls sharply. Economic activity contracts. Today's economy looks different. Many businesses remain profitable. Consumers continue spending. The unemployment rate has remained relatively low by historical standards. But hiring has clearly become more selective. That's why economists are paying such close attention. The labor market is often one of the first places where changes in the economy begin to appear. It doesn't tell us exactly what will happen next, but it does provide important clues. So, which industries are still hiring aggressively? Which jobs are disappearing the fastest? How can job seekers improve their chances in today's competitive market? And what does this hidden hiring slowdown mean for the future of the U.S. economy? So, which industries are still hiring aggressively? Which jobs are disappearing the fastest? How can job seekers improve their chances in today's competitive market? And what does this hidden hiring slowdown mean for the future of the U.S. economy? Let's continue. Which industries are still hiring? Even though the overall job market has slowed, not every industry is struggling. In fact, some sectors continue to add workers at a healthy pace. Healthcare remains one of the strongest areas for hiring. America's aging population is increasing demand for nurses, medical technicians, home health aides, physicians, and many other healthcare professionals. Construction is another industry that continues to need skilled workers. Large infrastructure projects, manufacturing investments, and data center construction are creating demand for electricians, plumbers, welders, heavy equipment operators, and other specialized trades. Technology hiring has changed. Many companies are no longer hiring as aggressively as they did during the pandemic. However, professionals with expertise in cybersecurity, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, software engineering, and data analysis remain in high demand. The key difference is that employers are becoming much more selective. Instead of hiring quickly, they're hiring carefully. The skills employers want today. A college degree alone is no longer enough for many positions. Companies increasingly look for candidates who can demonstrate practical skills. That includes problem solving, communication, adaptability, digital literacy, critical thinking, and the ability to work with AI-powered tools. Many employers now expect workers to understand technologies that barely existed just a few years ago. This doesn't mean everyone needs to become a programmer, but learning how AI, automation, and digital platforms fit into your profession can make you far more competitive. The labor market is changing, and workers who continue learning often adapt much more successfully than those who rely only on past experience. Why so many job postings never lead to hires? Here's something many people don't realize. Not every job posting represents an immediate opening. Some companies advertise positions while building a pool of future candidates. Others keep listings active even after slowing hiring plans. In some cases, employers are simply testing the market to understand salary expectations and available talent. For applicants, this creates frustration. You submit an application, weeks pass, then months, and you never hear back. It doesn't always mean you weren't qualified. Sometimes, the company simply wasn't ready to hire. Understanding this reality helps explain why so many job seekers feel discouraged despite sending dozens of applications. Is artificial intelligence replacing jobs? This is one of the biggest concerns people have today. The answer isn't as simple as yes or no. Artificial intelligence is automating certain repetitive tasks, some administrative work, basic customer support, routine data processing, simple content generation. But at the same time, AI is creating entirely new career opportunities. Businesses now need AI specialists, machine learning engineers, prompt engineers, cybersecurity experts, cloud architects, AI compliance professionals, and trainers who can teach employees how to use these new technologies effectively. History shows that major technological changes often eliminate some jobs while creating others. The challenge is that this transition can be difficult for workers whose skills no longer match what employers need. That's why continuous learning has become more important than ever. What can job seekers do right now? If you're searching for work, today's market requires a different strategy than it did just a few years ago. Instead of sending the same resume to hundreds of companies, customize it for each position. Use keywords that match the job description. Highlight measurable achievements rather than simply listing responsibilities. Build a professional LinkedIn profile. Continue developing new skills through online courses and certifications. Networking is also becoming increasingly valuable. Many positions are filled through referrals before they're widely advertised. Building professional relationships can sometimes open doors that online applications never will. Finally, don't become discouraged by rejection. A slower hiring market means even highly qualified candidates may face longer job searches than expected. Persistence matters. What does this mean for the economy? The labor market is one of the strongest indicators economists use to evaluate the health of the economy. If hiring continues slowing while unemployment begins rising significantly, concerns about an economic slowdown could increase. On the other hand, if inflation continues easing and businesses regain confidence, hiring activity may gradually recover. That's why economists closely watch monthly employment reports. These reports provide valuable insight into where the economy may be heading, while no single report tells the whole story. Together, they help paint a clearer picture of the overall economic landscape. Final thoughts. America's job market isn't collapsing, but it is changing. The days of companies hiring almost anyone they could find have largely passed. Today's labor market is more competitive, more selective, and increasingly focused on skills, productivity, and adaptability. For workers, that can feel frustrating, but it also creates opportunities for those willing to continue learning and adapting. The economy has always evolved. Industries rise, technologies change, new careers appear while others disappear. The people who succeed over the long term are usually those who keep developing new skills instead of relying on yesterday's knowledge. Whether you're looking for your first job, changing careers, or simply trying to understand what's happening in today's economy, the best investment you can make is in your own knowledge and abilities. Because while none of us can control the economy, we can control how prepared we are for whatever comes next. If you found this video helpful, subscribe for more fact-based videos about the economy, personal finance, investing, and the biggest stories shaping America's future. I'm Joey. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.